something that I talk about a lot is Bitcoin was built on influence. And another thing I talk about a lot is influencer marketing generally ends in tears.
Some people talk about the golden age of influence marketing these days. What do you think about it?
Well, I associate the golden age of, say, prestige TV with HBO and Showtime, for example, right? I associate times when there was less TV shows than perhaps there is now. And so I swing that around to influencers. And I don't know if we're just talking about Web3 right now, but like everybody's a model, man. Everybody seems to be a model. Everybody seems to be out there pitching something. Everybody's selling their ass to try and promote something. So, and I don't think it's very effective at all. I shouldn't say at all. You know, there's definitely cases I can point to, but I think it's more missed than hit. So if by golden age you're referring to volume, I think so. But if we're looking at quality, I don't think I feel that way.
That being said, many projects or many companies still rely and are based on influence. We mentioned earlier the example of Bitcoin, which still relies on the fact that people influence each other into believing in it.
So if I may, I think you're referencing a time when I talked about how Bitcoin was successful because of influence, and maybe not influencers influence, right? Bitcoin was successful because people were able to convince more people to come on board, friends, family members, neighbors. The old jokes that Bitcoiners are more annoying than Bitcoins, you know, these sorts of things. They went out there, they created influence, and eventually they got big boys in the market, you know, the Wall Street types, the traditional finance. Let's ignore what the original goal of this was. They brought them in, and then they've had a huge amount of influence in terms of their trading and who they have on their books. So that's what I was referencing when I spoke about influence.
But this is very interesting. So influencers is not influence.
Well, you hope when you pay for an influencer, you know, that they're going to inspire more people than the average Joe would to come in and try your product, whatever it may be. That's what you hope for. You hope they're going to have a positive reaction to the message and see the message and come drink your soft drink, download your app, buy your crypto coin. That's what you hope will happen. I think it rarely is the situation that it has a happy ending, though, when you retrospectively look at how these campaigns turn out.
But then what do you get when you hire a crypto influencer in 2025?
It's such a broad question, isn't it? Because it depends on what you're asking them to promote. It depends on what's going on in your business. It depends what your goals are. I think most likely you end up with a hole in your budget that you've just paid out to someone for an individual moment of time that you're never getting back. That's what I think most likely you're going to end up with. But it is possible that if you have the right announcement that you're asking them to push, it is interesting to their audience, you might gain more users. And then, though, it's on you to turn the users that they bring into profitable customers at some point in the future. So in short, even if you have a positive outcome, you've got to remember, hell, if it's influencers, if it's any kind of campaign, you have a positive outcome when you bring in more people. You've then got to do the work to convert these people into profitable customers as well. And I will say that's definitely on the that's the rarity. That's the rarity that you have a happy ending.
I think we highlight a lot of doubts regarding influencers specifically. That being said, it's still one of the first expenses for Web3 companies and for tech companies in general these days. How do you explain that? Why do you think people rely so much on influencers?
Hype, a lack of ideas, um, a drastic decline in human intelligence, hope, faith, desperation, running out of ideas. I don't think you end up doing influencer marketing because you started the conversation from somewhere intelligent. I think of a few situations where that is not the case, where I think influencer strategy through a spokesperson or a brand endorsement or something like that can be very effective, right? But yeah, predominantly, I think it comes from a place of uncertainty, and it comes from a place of trying to follow what others are doing without asking the question of, did it actually work?
Is there a good or at least a valid way of working with influencers?
Here's where it is. The question you're asking me right now, I think, breaks into what the problem is. So yes, there are reasons where influence could be a very successful thing for your business. There's definitely a place for influencers, but it's, what's your strategy? What are you announcing? What are you giving them to talk about? What are you hoping the outcome of it will be? So if you don't have the product or something that you can sell, asking someone to go out there and basically say, step right up, come into this great store we got, it's not going to work, right? It's not going to work. And so what I wish I heard more people talk about was what they were trying to sell, right? Let's talk about what we're trying to sell first. Let's take the insights we have from the founders or people who work in the business, their very broad and deep conversations that they've had across multiple channels. And then they're trying to elevate some of those messages that they found out that are going to be beneficial for them. And they go out and they choose influencers who are aligned with these things. I think it would be there'd be less sad stories, right? Because the influencer becomes a tool in the arsenal for the broader campaign. So that's where I think this all falls down. It's strategy. It's strategy. It's rushing to try to move the needle without thinking about what the actual plan is.
But speaking of strategy, then in this case, when you think of the impact that someone like Elon Musk can have on a whole industry, don't you think that it makes him if not the most powerful influencer?
Well, Elon Musk has a lot of influence, right? He's earned that from years of work to a specific system of doing things that has worked very well for him. And he's earned that. And he does have influence on people. But I don't know if I'd jump to Elon Musk at this stage, right? Because it's not 10 years ago when Elon Musk was seen as a genius and that was it. There's now a lot of feelings across the very broad spectrum that Elon Musk have, when even his own customers are sticking, not all of them, of course, but some of them are putting stickers on the back of their car. I bought this before Elon went crazy. Or they're sticking over the Tesla logo badges of different cars. Or Europe is now cracking down on Elon Musk's companies and things like that because of his recent activity. So that's also another thing. His influence is bad. But I feel for people who are maybe watching this video, Raf, they may be asking the question of, should I hire a crypto influencer? And to the best of my knowledge, I don't think Elon Musk is available. I mean, if he was, I'm sure there's you could hire him. I'm sure there's some kind of strategy you could pull and use Elon quite effectively. You could probably make him the centerpiece of your campaign. And I know that contradicts my previous answer. He's a special example. So yeah, I do not doubt his influence. And he's earned it, but I don't necessarily know if that's a relevant impact. A relevant thing to talk about when considering a crypto influencer.
You're right. We can scale it down and think of Web3 native examples like Gary Vee, for example, because we have many projects relying on the credibility of their affiliated personalities to build their brands. Is that a valid, or is that like a good strategy?
Man, it depends, right? It depends. It's not a black and white question. It's not true or false. It depends on what you're doing. It depends on who the influencer is. I still stand by that most brand endorsements, influencer deals, end in tears. Most of them, the vast majority of them do. Like, I don't think, for example, I think Ronaldo or something is like hired by Binance. I don't think bringing him in has turned around Binance's fortunes. I don't think hiring a Major League Football player convinced anyone else to try BitGet, for example. But I do think Crypto.com naming a stadium, Crypto.com Stadium, which is a brand endorsement. And, in this situation, the stadium that people sit in, they go have emotional events as they watch sports, did have an influence for them and did bring in users, for example. And these are really, really expensive endorsements that would be out of the hands of most companies. So I think there is a place for influence. As I said, Bitcoin's story is influence driven, in my opinion. But look, for the average company out there, I would encourage you to spend your money and your time and actually thinking about your strategy. And then once you've got a strategy, asking yourself whether an influencer is going to be able to amplify that.
I think that's a very good link with the previous conversation we had on velocity. How do you assess the velocity of a collaboration with an influencer?
Oh, that's very easy to do. Very, very easy to do. Because fundamentally, did you make more money than you spent? Very easy way to measure the success of a relationship with an influencer. And I know they'll tell you, it's too hard to track, or even in defense of the influencers, you get a lot of people through. If they are genuinely able to influence and elevate the campaign you're doing, you get more people who come through who don't use their referral code or their trackable links. You can look at a period of time and really determine, did I make more money than I didn't because of this collaboration? You can do it anecdotally. So I've had jobs before where we actually worked for a company that was sponsoring Arsenal FC. And I don't think it was a very successful for the business, but we did get indicators where, people would call up and say they had seen the logo while they were watching the game in the UK and stuff like that. So you get many, many indicators, but fundamentally it all drills down to, did you make more money than you spent? Actually, I do have a word of warning for investors here, perhaps people who are looking at projects. If the success of an influencer is to make more money than they spend, then the project that's hiring the influencer is probably planning to liquidate tokens while the price is up to cover the cost of that influencer and make the decision worthwhile. So that's also something that people should consider and think about when they do see endorsements.